Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Hangout. Chip Cooper here with my partner, Alan Cutts, for an FTC Guardian Hangout, the second one in the month of June 2019. And here, where I live, in a little town on the north end of Amelia Island in Northeast Florida, we're looking forward to the July 4th holiday. There's always a lot of fireworks, but it's interesting. Sometimes the best, most fun fireworks for me are not downtown or at the Ritz Carlton where they have a show and all of that. But sometimes you'll find a couple of three families rent a beach house together and they all buy fireworks and they'll take them out on the beach and be firing them off. And it's fun just to go sit down there and watch them sometimes. So that's what I'm going to be looking forward to. What about you, Alan?
Not much. We don't have any big plans, but before I get started with anything, hey, can somebody, because we had trouble last 2 weeks ago with the Hangout. So can somebody tell us, can you, number one, hear us? Say yes, can hear you. And number two, can you see us? Because those were problems that we were running into last week. Chip and I could see each other and hear each other, but other people couldn't see us and hear us. So I need you to say yes, both, yes, both. Okay, good.
So
we're good to go then. Because Chip and I last 2 weeks ago, we could hear and see each other perfectly fine. But for some reason, there was a YouTube live, I don't know, maybe an outage or something. I don't know. And you guys couldn't see us or hear us.
But it's working now, apparently. And last 2 weeks ago, Alan sort of pulled a rabbit out of the hat by finding that Webinar Jam actually makes a recording that we were not aware of.
Yeah. Just so you know, if any of you guys are using Webinar Jam and you run into the hiccup that we ran last week, one of the reasons that we use Webinar Jam for our Hangouts is because it automatically creates the video in YouTube, and then Chip just takes the video and puts it into the membership area, right? He makes it unlisted, puts it in the membership area, so it's only for our members, and it's great. The downside is like last week or 2 weeks ago when we did this, it didn't record it at all. Inside of Webinar Jam, if you ever run into that problem and you're doing something like this, Webinar Jam actually makes another copy of the video. They had it on a S3 server, so we were able to download it and get it back to the member area. That's just so you know.
So it all worked out, even though it was not convenient for the people who were here live.
Yep.
The video worked out one way or the other. So
yeah, and also I'm going to go ahead and steal a little bit of thunder from Chip. Chip's got his normal Hangout, but he's going to tell you about something that is coming out July 1. I think you told me a while ago, right? This is the first I've heard about it, and it's going to be a big impact to a lot of people in the agency business who sell this particular product. It's going to be a hammer to them. If you're doing this, so pay attention at the end. He'll tell you about it.
Well, I thought Alan was going to do a spoiler alert, but he didn't quite get there. That's good.
I'm going to tell you, pay attention because you're going to need to know this.
We try to keep you updated. That's one of the purposes of these Hangouts. One of the primary purposes, and this new law happens to just dovetail in with the topic tonight. And also, very timely, it goes into effect on July 1, which is about 5
and Paul, I saw Paul plays drum roll. Paul, you're going to want to pay attention. It's going to be right up. It's going to be right up your alley, Paul. I don't know if you're selling this or not. I don't know if you're selling this or not to your customers, but you're going to want to hear this. All right,
keep going. I'm going to share my screen right now, and this is it. Tell me if you actually see this, Alan.
Yes.
This is the title slide. You see that? That logo there for a company known as Devumi, which is a social media and influencer marketing company. They were the subject of 2 state attorney generals' actions, and you see it at the top there in the text there of the title slide. Both New York and Florida attorneys general nailed Devumi for deceptive likes, followers, and views, and that probably tips you off a little bit about what we're talking about, but also fake people. And we'll get to that as well. If I can just get the slides to advance and to start working. And you see here the housekeeping announcement you've seen many times. The presentation is for informational purposes only. It's not legal advice, and we're not affiliated with the FTC. So let's get on with it. And in terms of Devumi, what were they really doing? What was their business? Well, here is a sort of a capsule summary of their business from 2015 through 17. They earned $15 million in revenue with a total of over 250,000 sales, individual sales during that 2-year time period. And what they were selling were fake endorsements that they published on all, you see the social media platforms there: LinkedIn, Pinterest, SoundCloud, Twitter, Vimeo, and YouTube, right? So what were their typical offers for their service, and how much did the offers cost? Here are just two: $39.97, $3,997, $4,000 for up to 500,000 Twitter followers, right? That's pretty significant. And then on the low end, for $30, you could get 250 likes on YouTube. So that's a couple of examples of what they were selling, and their customers numbered over 200,000. And you can see the description there of who they were: actors, athletes, business people, marketers such as members of FTC, Guardian, politicians, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, the objective there, people were willing to pay for these fake views and likes in order to build up their reputation on social media to make them look important for the purposes of their own businesses. So how did they go about doing this? What was their methodology? Well, they used a lot of bots, which is an abbreviated term for robot, over 3.5 million of them. And they used a lot of different social media accounts and the names and profile images of real people. Now you see the two bullets at the bottom of this slide. And if you look at the first one, Sock Puppet accounts, these were actually fake accounts where you have one person pretending to be a lot of other people. So it's really a fake account. And the term of art on the street here were sock puppet. And you probably remember, or if you have kids, you probably remember the puppets on the kids' TV where the puppeteer puts his hand or her hand in a sock and entertains, right? So that's what that's all about: the fake likes, et cetera. And then the other one involved what are known as stolen profile owners and profiles, which really is an impersonation of somebody, a real person, but without the consent of the real person. So basically, in a sense, they could hijack your account and then use you to send a lot of fake information about the clients of Devumi. So that's how they were going about doing it. And what got them in trouble, or at least what tipped off the attorneys general for the states of New York and Florida, were some media information about them, both on CNN and also the New York Times. And when that occurred, the attorneys general couldn't avoid taking some kind of action. If everybody's reading about it, and it's their job to enforce deceptive marketing practices. So this is the result. You see here both from the state of New York and Florida attorneys general filed claims for both of them for deceptive practices, and also in the state of New York for impersonation, which is a crime. And each of these were settled very low for $50,000 each. You would expect more, but that's what happened here with these state claims. So let's go back. So really, we're talking here about the sale of the fake likes and that sort of thing, the sale of them. So the question here on this next slide is, what about the people who bought the fake likes? What about them? Well, these settlements with both these state attorneys general did not address the fact of the legal or the question of the legality of the customers who purchased the fake likes, right? These issues were not reached by these particular actions. Only the actions were taken against the seller, in this case, Devumi. So in that particular case, there was still left to be decided whether the purchasers would be liable as well. And this raises this question that you see at the top of this slide. What would the FTC have to say about it? Well, I think it's very clear what the FTC would say. They would reference their endorsement guides, and you obviously should be very familiar with these if you've attended any of our Hangouts. If there is a connection between an endorser and a marketer, then there should be a disclosure. I mean, in very simple terms, I'm a robot, something to that nature. And the bottom line, you see with the arrow pointing to it at the bottom, if you're a user of these fake likes, then you need to disclose material connections, right? So that's what the FTC would say. Maybe it may be additional things as well. But this leads us to this new statute that both Alan and I mentioned just a few minutes ago, effective on July 1, just about 5 days from now, a state of California law called their new Autobot law, which requires disclosures if you're using, as a marketer, bots. So here's some of the highlights of the new law below in the bullets. The first highlight, of course, is that it's the first Autobot law in existence. And if you look at the second bullet and the sub-bullets below it, you'll see the elements, a quick summary of the elements. So the new law makes it unlawful, one, to use a bot, you see they're highlighted in yellow, to communicate or interact with a person in California online, right? So it's an online situation. Number two, with the intent to mislead about its identity. In other words, so that whoever might be watching or interacting doesn't really know that it's a bot and maybe thinks that it's a real person. Number three, the subject matter involves the content of the communication. A misleading would be the misleading or deception would be related to the content of the communication itself. Next, the purpose would be to incentivize the purchase or sale of a product or service. Or the final one, probably not much of an interest among our members, or to influence a vote in an election. So let's look at them again. The bot is communicating with a person in California with the intent to mislead them to think that this bot is really a person when it isn't, and specifically regarding the content of whatever the bot is saying, right, with a purpose for incentivizing a sale, or purchase or sale. Now, there's apparently a lot of this going on right now on the internet, and this law, of course, is targeted to that type of marketing, right? So what is a bot? You see here, going back to this slide, that the law applies to bots. So what is a bot? Well, the statute says that a bot is an automated online account where substantially all of the actions or posts of that account are not the result of a real person. It's a robot, right? I think that's fairly simple and easy to understand. But let's talk about a couple of examples, and I'll mention these too, but when I finish the presentation here in just a couple of minutes, maybe we can have some questions and some suggestions, maybe from Alan, different types of examples about what might be covered by this statute and what might not be. So you see two bullets there. Let's take the first one where you have a tech support bot for subscribers to an online service. So in that particular situation, I really don't think the statute applies unless, well, it's hard for me to imagine that if all the bot is trying to do, and I've interacted with a number of them, none of them have tried to sell me anything. They're there to help me understand how to use the service, or for me to report maybe a problem with it. So I think in the pure tech support situation, this new California statute would not find that unlawful. But then we get to the second bullet where there is assistance, in quotes, on a commercial website. So, here we're in a situation where we need to be very careful. For example, is the assistance merely to show you around the website or to answer questions about a product or service, right? And does the, quote, assistance include the making of an offer? right? Or pointing out an offer or guiding a visitor to the offer. And I think the offer is really the key. As long as the assistance is, this is what our service does, and you can find out more information on this page, that sort of thing. As long as you don't get to the offer stage or pointing out an offer, I think you're okay. So I think the offer really is the key, because as you see in the bullet, or the arrow at the bottom, the key is, does it incentivize a purchase or sale? So that's what an offer is supposed to do. So as long as you stay away from the offers, I think you're okay. But you need to understand that if you operate a commercial website and you provide quote assistance, you've got to be very careful, because you're operating in an area that this particular law, the California Autobot law, is intended to operate, right? And so the question is, is there an offer? Is there an effort to incentivize a purchase or sale? You've got to be very, very careful about what that bot says and what the bot does in order to avoid enforcement here with this new statute. So there are three takeaways here. The settlements we've talked about in this particular case involving Devumi were involving the first finding by law enforcement that selling fake followers and likes is deceptive, and also that fake activity using stolen identities is also an illegal impersonation. So that's what the basic topic here of this hangout is. And the FTC would find that the use would probably be a deceptive practice as well. And then we get to number three takeaway, that California's new Autobot law prohibits the use of deceptive Autobots for commercial use. So let's go back. I've just killed the share my screen. Alan is back. So I think you get the gist of the new Autobot law, and I'm not sure, Alan, where the interest is going to be here with our members. Is the interest going to be basically focusing on the topic where we have the fake likes and that sort of thing, or on the new statute, the new California Autobot statute, or some combination of the two? So
I think it's a little bit of a combination of the two, but I mean, I believe most people, I would hope most of our members would know that it's just not cool. I mean, given that it's just not cool to buy fake likes or fake anything. I mean, I don't care where you're coming from. As a business practice, it's not cool. Now, on the bot side of stuff, it makes it very difficult. And somebody asked a question about it being California. Yeah, if the consumer or the person is in California, that's the legality side. I mean, so if you're running a bot on Facebook and the consumer jumps on your group in Facebook and they happen to be in California, then you have to make sure that you're right. You're putting up your staying cool.
It's me living in Florida. There's no law here yet, nor is there a federal Autobot law. I would imagine there probably will be before too much longer. But
that's why Chip and I have talked a lot about just the Federal Trade Commission in general, and it is sometimes slow to action because they tend to say, let's wait and see what California does. Okay, we'll follow that. We'll do that. They've already started it, so we'll just kind of follow what California has done. So you can see that if California is going to start it, then federally, they're probably going to look at it going, hey, well, California thought about it. This is probably a good idea. We'll probably follow it as well. So I can see this rolling out over the next 6 months, year, to everybody in the United States as well, because it also gets into the, a little bit of the GDPR side of who the person is, right? I mean, because when you have a bot, the moment somebody starts to use you, you start to get other data about that individual. So there's a little bit of data collection going on that side. So you just have to be careful about it. So right now, where I would see the main concern is I have a lot of friends who are selling bots, agencies. They're out there selling bots. And let's say they're selling bots to restaurants. And so they've got a nice...
Wait, let me just jump in. Give an example of what the restaurant bot would do on the web.
That's exactly what I want to do.
Right.
So they're selling bots to restaurants. And so I'm about to go. I'm looking for a place to go eat Mexican food. So I jump on Facebook real quick and find somebody who's got some great reviews. I land on their page and I go through it back and forth. And as soon as I jump on it, they say, "Hey, we're a great place, 5 stars, whatever." And the little bot pops up, right? Tell us more about what are you looking for? It pops up. I say I'm looking for Mexican food. And then I kind of go around, but all of a sudden it incentivizes me. Hey, here's a $5 off or a 10% coupon or a get a dessert with the meal. Guess what? If you didn't tell me you were a bot before that, that's incentivizing the sale of even just a meal, just to go to a restaurant.
Right. But
so
that would only apply if I'm the guy doing it or you, and you live in California and you're not. So
so I can see that happening right now in California. Like if you on the real local level, that if you're selling bots to local business owners in the California market, how that's going to affect offering coupons or offering little things if they don't start out by saying, "Hey, I'm a bot, man. I'm a robot. Hey, want a coupon?" Do that kind of stuff. Now, on a global, not a global, but on a U.S. scale, there are a lot of groups. Matter of fact, I've really gotten into something called Road Trek. Looking for a Road Trek. I have friends who have one. I really want to look for one. So there's Road Trek groups, right? There's on Facebook and stuff like that.
What is that?
It's basically a maxed out van where you can sleep in it. You can put your paddle boards on it. You can throw your bikes on it. You can sleep in it. It's got a TV in it. It's a maxed out van, man. So you can go anywhere. So you're not pulling this big RV, but you can do anything with it.
Well,
so
that goes back to the 60s. That's my generation.
Oh yeah. They just gotten bigger and nicer.
Yeah, I remember. This is. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I remember back then the standing joke was, there were these Volkswagen vans, and
I had one. I had the Volkswagen van that the lady moved up. Yeah.
The best bumper sticker I think I've ever seen was, "Don't laugh, your daughter might be inside." Anyway,
yeah,
go ahead.
I had a VW, a van that the hood popped up or the top of the roof popped up, had a bed in it, the whole bed. But yeah, so anyway, I've been doing it. So I'm looking at a lot of groups, and the groups have bots, right? So the bot pops in there and says this. So if that bot starts to, incentivize me to do stuff without telling me in advance, I mean, it's not going to bother me because I'm not in California, or I won't be the victim of the law. But if somebody in California did it, you've got to know how to do that. So Ed has a question.
Let me jump in if I may. Let's take your restaurant example, right? And what would be the disclosure that would be required in order to avoid the deception, right? I don't know. Okay, the law is not in effect yet. There's been very little about it, but suppose I'm on, as you described, I'm now on Facebook looking for a good Mexican restaurant in my area, right? And I go in and this bot pops up.
Yep.
And the bot says, "Hey, I'm a bot, but I'm a really cool bot.
Yep.
And I've got a deal for you."
Yep.
Right? Do you think that's enough of a notice that, hey, I'm not a real person?
I think they're going to have to do a click through. And with the bots, bots are very sophisticated. I mean, I have mini chat, I have active chat, I have a number of these services because I provide them for customers as well. Is that when you can say yes or no, you can have yes or no questions, right? So you could say, "Hey, I'm only a bot, but I've got a coupon for you. Do you want it? Yes or no?" If they click yes, then that's activating, saying yes, you're cool with it.
But my question is, if the little bot comes up with a sombrero on and said, "Hey man, hey dude, I'm a bot, but I'm a smart bot, and I've got a deal for you. It's a coupon, free dessert, blah blah blah."
Yep.
That's probably going to be okay.
Yeah, and Ed's asking about Ed is asking about this Facebook. Ed, it's not just Facebook bots. Facebook is where we see the most of them.
That's the example you've been talking about.
Yeah, Facebook is where we see the most bots being used. But it would be the same would be true if you had a different type of bot, which I have another service that I'm subscribed to, forget what it is, where you can put a bot on your website that does a similar thing. So if you're making an offer on the website, then you have to say, that you're a bot. If the
Hey,
person is
I'm a
in
bot.
California.
I'm a
Yeah.
cool bot, and I've got a deal for you.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
guess.
So even if it's on the website, it's not just Facebook, it's bots, period. So
Yeah. I mean, Alan and I were talking just before we went live. I said, the regulators in this world have taken a lot of the fun out of being an online marketer, right? You can't do the bots anymore. And there are all sorts of other things. If you've been a member for a while,
I can't even be deceptive anymore.
good grief. And next month, we've got a couple of, I think, very interesting, if I say so myself,
Yeah.
Hangout, where we'll learn that you can have a deceptive ad by the use of hashtags. I mean,
Yep.
really? Yes, the answer is we'll talk about that and some other things as well. So, stay tuned. We'll keep you up to speed on all this stuff.
Yeah. And Phil asked, is it okay to use? I mean, Phil, it's okay to use bots in California for content, incentivizing purchases, influencing votes, as long as you say that you're a bot. And I'm going to take it a step further. I'd be willing to bet that if this gets a little bit stickier, and there may even be something in the law about it, that they have to click through an acknowledgement that you're a bot. I'd be willing to bet.
I haven't drilled down into this enough.
I'd be willing to bet because bots are very sophisticated, and you can say yes, no. Do you want to chat with me anymore? Yes. I'm a bot. Do you want to chat with me anymore? Yes or no. And if you say no, and if you say yes, you're acknowledging that you're a bot, and you can continue the conversation. I'd be willing to bet that that's going to be a part of it, because I mean, it's unless
right.
the consumer consents to it.
Right. And there's another one. We don't even want to go to the data collection aspect. Alan mentioned it very early in the discussion. But yes, in the process of interacting with this bot, personal data is being collected, right? So you've got potentially GDPR issues, potentially the new California data protection and privacy statute there. We're not going there in this presentation, but there are data protection issues related to as well. But we're talking about just the Autobot law, and that's just
Ed talks about being so like 90% of the internet is ads. I live in Mongolia and have a lot of bots. So here's the problem is I mean, if you let's say let's say, for example, your bots are on Facebook, and maybe they are, maybe they're not. Facebook's going to come down on it too, because they don't want to get nailed, right? So the first thing that's going to happen, if you have bots that are running in groups on Facebook, all of those groups are going to get shut down, or those pages will be shut down, because Facebook is not going to allow it to happen either. They're not going to want it to happen. So if you're using them in other places, I mean, you just in the long run, it's going to come back to get you. Bottom line.
So, any other questions at this time?
Does this affect funnels? I don't think. I mean, the funnel itself, your basic funnel, isn't a bot, right? It's a process.
Right.
What we're talking about is bots, is where the bot actually interacts with the person. The lower right hand corner, bot pops up. Would you like this? We like like a chat bot. I mean, for example, a chat bot. A chat bot is perfectly fine until it starts to for California, a chat bot on your website is perfectly fine until it tries to incentivize the sale of a product, right? The moment it starts to incentivize the sale of a product to somebody in California, then you've got a problem. Without saying, hey, I'm a bot. And that's all all you got to start with is, hey, I'm a bot, but I got a coupon. You want it? Yes, no.
Yeah. And so you remember at the very beginning when we were talking about the title slide for this presentation, at the very end, we had fake people. That's what a bot is, right?
Yeah.
So we've introduced you to this new law. We've had a little bit of fun talking about it, but it is real, this Autobot law, and it really will affect a number of marketers out there.
Yeah. I mean, and I see some of the questions pop up. All you ever have to ask yourself, am I trying to be deceitful? That's really all you got to ask. Am I trying to be deceitful with it? Do I want people to think that this thing is live, is real? If
Right.
you want them to think it's real, then you need to say, I'm a bot, so that
Right.
they know it's not a bot.
Yeah, as long as you're trying to make a sale. But if you're just trying to help somebody,
Yeah.
tech support, I'm a member of a site, I go in, I need some help.
Yep.
That's just helpful. That's not a problem. That's not selling stuff, right?
Yep.
So
Yeah. The
any
moment,
other
the
questions?
moment the moment you're trying to sell something on that, especially for California, anyway, the moment you're trying to sell it and you're trying to do it to automate a process so that it's somewhat deceitful, that so the person thinks it's a person on the other side. And that's what I say. I want to try to make people think this is another person. Then it's deceit,
Just
deceit.
sell me something,
Yeah,
right?
just tell you something. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Is that it?
Yep.
All right. Very
You're
well.
good.
We've had some good discussion. That's good. Again, as I mentioned just a few minutes ago, our job is to try to keep you up to speed with all this stuff, all these regulations that are coming down, and to give you some advice on maybe how to go about thinking about possibly complying with it. That's what we're here for, and that's what we enjoy doing. So we're glad that you could join us tonight, and we look forward to seeing you.
Hang on a second. I'm going to answer Phil. I saw Phil posted a question about. Make sure that's Is an autoresponder could an autoresponder be considered a bot? I don't think you're saying an autoresponder is considered the actual autoresponder where they opt in is considered a bot because somebody knows that there's not a person back there holding it, collecting your name and email address. Right. It's not that. If you're doing it from a bot purpose and you're doing it through a bot, then and you're doing it to collect to make an offer, then you need to disclose that it's a bot. Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. Is that it?
Yep. I think we're good.
Thank you all for joining. Have a very pleasant evening, everybody. Good night.
Good night.